Hi everyone, welcome back to the Nature Patch. My name is Robyn and thank you for joining in on another video. Today is a really exciting video. I've been meaning to do this for quite a while now, and that is to talk about probably the #1 thing that I recommend for both beginner gardeners and people that have been gardening for ages to try growing, and that is microgreens. So this video is going to be all about how to grow microgreens, the time frame of growing microgreens, how you need to care for them, and also the benefits of growing microgreens as well. So before we start, make sure to grab a cup of tea or coffee and we can get stuck into this video all about microgreens. So firstly, I'll chat a little bit about what microgreens actually are. So microgreens are the step up from a sprout, basically. So a sprout is when the seed starts to germinate and starts to grow a little bit more. You don't necessarily need to be growing sprouts in soil for them to grow. Microgreens are generally grown in soil, and they're the step after from when the seed sprouts and germinates to actually start getting this kind of green growth on it. So these microgreens here that I'm growing are broccoli sprouts, and they're starting to show their first growth of green leaves. These kind of little funky leaves that grow at the very start, after the seed has germinated and starts to grow, are called cotyledons. And this is the start of the seed growing into a plant. So after this stage, the true leaves start to come in, and that's when usually I like to start to pick my microgreens, when I start to see the first little true leaves pop through. So really microgreens are anywhere between kind of this stage here and when you start to get your true leaves. So with this stage here, the cotyledon little leaves, they're basically kind of the embryo of the seed when it starts to grow. And these pop out first primarily for the plant to be able to undergo photosynthesis and to start to grow into a little bit more of a bigger plant. So you can kind of think of this as the start of a toddler phase of a plant, I suppose. It's starting to figure out how to do things, starting to figure out how to grow and uptake nutrients through the roots. The next stage is for this to produce true leaves. So a lot of these here are starting to pop out their true leaves, which is the next phase of the plant. Eventually, these little leaves will die off and the true leaves will be much more sustainable for the plant to be able to undergo photosynthesis and to become an actual plant. Microgreens are anywhere from this stage on. When they have this growth and they're trying to get their true leaves, then you've got your microgreens. You'll also notice that with microgreens, you can start to see that the plant is actually forming roots and is starting to uptake the nutrients from the soil that you've got the seeds planted in. So some of the benefits of growing microgreens like this is that they are super high in nutrients. They're often higher in nutritional value than sprouts and even the fruit that these plants end up producing as well. There's so many other benefits that I'll get into throughout this video as well. But firstly, I'm going to show you how I'm actually growing these and what I'm growing it in as well. So you can really grow microgreens in any different type of container that you have. I usually make sure that the container has some holes down the bottom for the water to drain out of. But I have basically gone around in the kitchen and found some different containers that I like to grow my microgreens in. So this can be anything from little fruit trays to old takeaway containers. What I like to do with these is usually cut it down a little bit just because this is quite deep. Microgreens generally don't need a really deep soil because you don't eventually want it to grow into a large plant. They only really need a shallow root system and only a little bit of soil for them to do what you want them to do. So I usually cut this down and then fill them up with soil. You can even use, say, like old yogurt tubs or ice cream containers that you can just punch some holes in the bottom and then use that as a microgreens tray. There are also some really larger ones and a bit more kind of professional style ones as well that you can get, but I typically don't worry about those just because I like to use up what I have in the house. The soil for microgreens, I usually use just a good quality potting mix, but the benefits of this is that because the microgreens only take about a week or so for them to get to about this stage, you don't need a lot of nutrients in the soil that you're using. So you could even use some spent compost from different pot plants or whatever you have really lying around. I don't typically fertilize these at all. I just let them take up whatever nutrients is in the soil. So what I'll do is just fill up the tray with a light layer of soil. and then I will sprinkle my seeds on. This is where the fun bit is, because there are so many different types of microgreens that you can grow. These ones here are sprouting broccoli seedlings, but in the tray that I'm going to fill up, I am going to be planting some mustard greens as well, which have a little bit more of a spicy flavour to the broccoli seedlings. Generally, whatever you're planting, if you're planting sprouting broccoli microgreens, they're going to have a little bit of a broccoli taste, similar to if you were planting spinach microgreens, going to taste a lot like spinach, and mustards going to taste a lot like a full-grown mustard plant. There are a lot of resources online about what different microgreens you can grow, and I have a massive list of them here. So different microgreens that you might want to start out with are some radishes, broccoli, beetroot's a really fun one, watercress, arugula or rocket, even carrots you can grow as microgreens. Peas are a great one, sunflower, amaranth, buckwheat, spinach and sorrel, herbs such as basil and parsley. These are really great ones if you want a little miniature basil microgreens on the top of a dish as a garnish. They look really cute, and if you do have quite a lot of basil seeds that you might want to use up, or any kind of old seed packets, it's a great way to use up some of your seeds. Others include lots of greens such as collards and kale and alfalfa, kohlrabi, cauliflower, dill. There is probably a lot more as well that I haven't mentioned here. So when you're sowing your microgreens, I like to sow them fairly thickly. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. There's no set rule on how many seeds you should put in a little tray like this. I like to sow them quite densely. I do buy them in bulk, so I have a lot of seeds that I can use for microgreens. But even if you put, say, even 20 little seeds into a tray like this, you're still going to get 20 little microgreens as well. So what I do is I usually fluff up the soil, whatever I have put into the tray, put the seeds in, and then fluff it up again, making sure that most of the seeds are all kind of equal in their positioning in the tray. Then I just give it a water, and over the next few days, you'll start to see all of the seeds germinate. And by about day 2, they'll start to be popping up, and you'll start to see some. By day 4, you will definitely have some growth happening, and then these here are 6 days old and they are almost ready to be picked. These could probably go for another kind of 2 to 4 days, but I'll probably end up picking some of them today. So it's really great to sow them on a weekly basis, and that means that you will have fresh greens all year round. We live in a warm climate here, so these germinated super quickly. But if you do live in a cooler climate, you can either grow these under grow lights, or you can have them on a windowsill. You just want to make sure that you are turning them around every few days or every day to make sure that they don't all lean to one side towards wherever the light is. All right, so I'll go through some of the benefits why I love growing microgreens now. The first one is that they grow so quickly. You can have greens and fresh greens in a week or so, and that means you can be starting to eat your own organic produce that you have grown with love and all by yourself in a really quick time frame. It also means that you can be sharing with your friends and your family really quickly, so everyone around you can start eating something organic and homegrown. Another thing is that they're super cheap. I can guarantee you, if you're a gardener, you probably have a seed stash where it's a little bit messy. I know I definitely do, of seeds that you just kind of put away and that you'll eventually end up planting, but then you'll probably forget about them. This is a great way to use up different seeds that you have around. Or buying microgreens is also super cheap as well. You usually get quite a lot of seeds when you do buy them, particularly if you buy them in bulk as well. Another benefit is that you just get a really high yield for the amount of space that you use. There is so much nutritional value just in this one little tray that took up hardly no space at all, really little nutrients, really little water, yet I'm getting so much health value, mental enjoyment as well from growing something and watching it grow, and also reducing my carbon footprint by having to go and buy greens as well. So there's probably quite a few little benefits in that one point. But another thing is that you can grow them inside, which is really helpful, particularly if you do live in an extreme climate. And one of the main benefits is just that they are super healthy. There's so much different nutrients that is packed into these plants here. Depending on what microgreens you go for, there is so much antioxidants and calcium, minerals and vitamins that are good for your overall well-being, particularly your eye health and brain health as well. There's just so much awesomeness in microgreens. They're also super versatile to use. I like to use microgreens in quite a lot of different things. Generally, whatever I use greens or spinach in, I will chuck in some microgreens. But my two favorite ways to use them is, look, I do love a good avocado on toast, I'm not gonna lie. Lately I've been very obsessed with it, so I do like to add some microgreens onto my avocado toast. With a little bit of salt and pepper and some lemon is just perfection. And I also really love to put them in a smoothie to make my green smoothies. So all I like to do is chop them from the base, and then once I have chopped them all and used all the microgreens in the tray, I'll generally just fluff up the soil a little bit, leave it for a little bit longer, and then sow some more seeds on top of it as well, so that I can reuse this soil again and again. So if you are looking for something to grow or something to do this weekend or during the week, I definitely recommend giving microgreens a go. Let me know what your favorite type is to grow, or if you are going to try them. You can also tag me in any photos or videos that you post over on Instagram at The Nature Patch. I'll be sure to have a look, or just give me a tag and let me know how your garden is going. I love to connect with you all and see what you're up to in the garden. So definitely follow me over there to see a lot more garden content. And make sure to give this video a like if you've made it this far. When you like the videos, it really helps me to know what kind of videos you like better. And it also helps these videos to be pushed into the magical algorithm of YouTube to get all this garden knowledge out there, which I just think is so valuable for lots more people to know. I really hope you enjoyed this video and give some microgreens a go. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are in the world. And until my next video, happy gardening everyone. Bye.